Hello and welcome. Another quick look. I decided to go through my Aerobask airplanes, the ones that have actually been made available for XP12. Some of them cost money because they have been reworked. Others you just get as part of a Skunkcraft update, or what's it called, and are free. So I had already the Epic E1000, which is a turboprop sort of business, yeah, you can't call it jet, business airplane. And we're now looking at the jet version of something like that. And that's here the Epic Victory. There used to be an Epic Victory before. It had the SkyView Avionics suite, which Aerobask kind of programmed themselves. So they were actually one of the first to come out with an avionics suite, because at the time the G1000 all that wasn't yet established very well, the Laminar one, and I never really liked the Sky. It was well done and I really liked it, and I thought it was really good what they did there, but I never really liked it. Also in real world, I don't. SkyView is such a real. I was never that convinced of it. I prefer the Garmin. So this is the Garmin version, and it only exists for XP12 as far as I understand. And or maybe it's also out for XP11, but I think this one is XP12 only. So, and I think I had to pay for it if I remember correctly. Let's open the door and let's get rid of these. Modeling is as usually good, not perfect, but good. I like it. All the shimmering effects are not Aerobask's fault. Forget about it. It's the usual thing. I have to tell it every time. So let's change the view and go a little bit closer. We are now inside the aircraft. Here is the cabin with this precarious looking thing. Yeah. By the way, here, opposite to the E1000, you can actually open things, or you can even bring a tray out, and not even that, they have even a... this is actually an Avitab. This is the EFB that we also have in front, and you can call up options and Avitab here. Would I do this? Probably not. Yeah, it wouldn't be the place where I do things. You can change, I think, the lights here. There are some switches. And yeah, here's some, I hope it's water and not alcohol, especially when the pilots take a sip. And then we have the cockpit itself, and it's actually, this doesn't look as if you can move the chair sideways, but you can move it forward and back, but not in this aircraft, though, in this simulated aircraft. But that's the way you probably push this all the way back, and then you can kind of climb in. In the Epic 1000, I really wondered how you would get in there, because they didn't actually have that. They didn't show that here. It's probably working the same way. But you also had armrests, and me and my long legs, I would really wonder how I climb into this one without damaging anything. But here it looks actually more likely that I would be able to jump into the airplane. Yeah, so cockpit is, as usual, one of the things that with the anti-aliasing makes this look less good as it could, and that is, you see these white lines or very bright lines. There you can see the effect of the bad anti-aliasing by flickering, you know, especially the further away you get. The closer you get, the higher the resolution, then this effect disappears almost, not completely. But in the normal distance, you can see a lot of crooked lines here, especially when there are some brighter lines against darker backdrop. That's just the way it is, not Aerobask's fault. Let's explain. And hopefully with 1210, they do the miracle with the anti-aliasing, and everything is looking like it did in XP11. I wouldn't say if XP11 would have been the same, but XP11 was actually really good when it came to anti-aliasing. And and the shimmer effects were extremely less than compared to this here. XP12 hasn't done it yet for me with regards to that. So I'm actually waiting for Laminar to finally fix this, because it's here not only in the cockpit, it's everywhere where you look. It flickers and it's awful. Shadows. Ugh. I mean, you have to do a trick in order to get at least decent shadows in the cockpit. Otherwise, you have these stairs that even move, you know, in second intervals. They move. This. How can you not see this? Yeah, but it's probably a prompt compromise, because they didn't probably have time to go through this. Okay. When you click here, you get an EFB. It's the Avitab. If you have the Avitab, you can do the Avitab stuff. Careful, I realized that Avitab in the current version of X-Plane, and I might have to update my Avitab, I haven't had time for that, seems to steal your keyboard input from time to time, and then that means you end up with not being able to use any key on your keyboard, and you need to kind of stop the Avitab plugin in order to get back. So at the moment I'm not touching it, and these are the Aerobask EFB options. Now, I don't like really these kind of things. I do actually prefer the real menu, and I very quickly go through this. Also, there is a documentation. It's relatively okay. It's a checklist, and it's a document that explains basically how you install it and talks you around all these options and the cockpit. So it's okay. It's not huge. I'm missing performance parameters. I haven't really seen performance parameters, or maybe I've overlooked it, but yeah, so I'm winging it again, as usual. These are about the pop-ups and reset on right-click, so you can bring out the windows here when they're active, by the way, not when they're dark like this. And that's something that Aerobask does. If certain conditions are not met, you will not be able to do certain things until you have met the conditions, and then the click spots become available. Well, it's just the way they've done it, I suppose. There are reflections. I find the windshield reflections unobtrusive and okay, so I leave them on. I hate them on instruments, because when there's sunshine and all, it just takes away from the already challenging readability of small displays on a small screen. Again, not Aerobask's fault, but it's just the way it is. So I turn anything that makes it even worse, I turn off, and that's usually reflections that make it worse. There are also fuses or breakers, circuit breakers that do work, and you can, I don't know what algorithm is involved here, but you can have them trip for you at some random algorithm. I have no idea how they did it, but you can always reset it if you need them back. I have still not understood what the LR bug in no panel views is. I need to check. Yeah, it's something with the G1000 shared options. Yeah, enable touchscreen features. I don't really like that, so I turn that off. And the flight level change mode does not synchronize AP speed. Well, it does actually at the moment, and that's actually what I want to use. So I'm not going to turn this off, but I'm not 100% sure. It could be that in the real, because why would they have this option in real life? It could be that they're actually not syncing it. And then you can do some G1000 specific things, for example, flight path vector, cross pointer. Synthetic vision takes a few frames. I don't really use it, so I turn it off. But if you turn it on, you actually get synthetic vision. That means sort of a 3D representation of the scenery and the runway and so on. It's looking quite okay, but as I say, it seems to take away a little bit from the performance, which is no surprise. Not much, but a little bit, 2-3 frames I've seen. But under certain circumstances, when the frame rate gets sort of low because of darkness and bad scenery, you might end up feeling it. Yeah, that's at least my opinion. The MD-302 is a I think a standby instrument thingy here on the left side, and there are some stuff that you can do here. Again, read the manual. I'm not going to go through this. This is a quick look. I'm not going to go into every detail here. All right. Okay, now let's have a look. There is a X checklist C-list file for this aircraft. It's about a year old. It's from Jean-Pierre, who's doing a lot of these C-list files. Thank you very much for it. Sometimes there are small little mistakes in there, but all in all, usually the stuff from Jean-Pierre Goofy, I think it's JP Goofy, or Goofy JP or something like that, on the forum, Explain.org. Usually his checklists are quite good and quite comprehensive, and they're color-coded and automized and all that, so they're pretty good. And the one or the other small little mistake or some inconsistencies in sequence of things that I would do differently, actually. But apart from that, it's a great starting point, especially when you don't know the aircraft or if you haven't flown with the aircraft for a long time and simply can't remember how that works. So he is always putting on some performance parameters. I think this comes from the documentation. And then we are in a cold and dark situation. That's actually where we're in now. But I've stopped all the static elements. So maybe we go outside again. Yeah, static elements you can turn on in the menu, in the EFB. You can turn them on here, by the way. You can open the door also here with a click spot. It's quite well done. There is a GPU, but you do not need it unless you're planning to have a longer time. And I will actually call it up now. So I do the connect GPU because I'm planning to enter the flight plan. And that can take some time with this stuff here. Although, mind you, we do have a keyboard. So Aerobask actually built this entry unit here. I'm not sure what it's called. Yeah, so request a flight plan. Well, we do have our flight plan. It's the usual try and fly plan. So interesting one. We need to add the battery, and then there is a Avionics, and you need to turn on the Avionics in order to so refuel is necessary, the passengers, all static elements, enter cabin. So let's go to the next one. Cockpit and cabin lights as desired. The cabin lights are, where are they? Here. Okay, so one thing we can try is that we go to the night, and then here you can see that's what it looks like from afar here, and also in the cabin. Yeah, that's the cabin. Some emergency lighting. Yeah, that's it. And here you can do instrument lights, panel lights, glare shield sort of lighting, and you can actually put ceiling lights on, or for later you just turn them off. So I'm not sure why these things pop up. It's the same with the standby instrument in the and it happened a couple of times. I do something and suddenly this thing pops up. I have no idea how I did it, because normally I would expect that I click on this to call it up. Okay, so all switches off. Well, gear lever down, flaps full up, air conditioning all off minimum, all breakers all pushed. Okay, the reason why we are not off is because I want to enter the flight plan. And that's the usual thing. You've seen this before. So because it's a quick look, I try not to show every aspect of the flight. But you can have a look in the Epic video. I show my attempts of programming them. Okay, so here I'm back now with the flight plan put in. Actually, one thing that I found out today is... Oh, no. There. What you should do is make a direct to on that first waypoint, because what happened to me today in the morning, not with this aircraft, but generally with the Garmin, sometimes, especially if you manually take off and you get a little bit distracted and therefore don't fly exactly along the runway, it might not detect that we are past the runway 07 1700. And what happens then is, as soon as you switch to nav mode with GPS, it thinks it has to fly to runway 07. And that means it will do 180 for you. It happened to me today. So I put in the first waypoint because it's in the same, along the same line. I'm not sure if the 1700 could be used for that, but I just wanted to make sure that we're definitely not going haywire like I did today in the morning. I was actually with the E1000, the Epic, that happened. Just a hint. I'm still a little bit confused about how you properly use this. I have to maybe read the documentation again. And somehow also I have a problem here on the approach. It seems there's a discontinuity that you cannot see. And the discontinuity can happen. So that's why I always put in Magat as a separate waypoint, just to make sure that at Uptal we still continue the flight. Otherwise, it happened a couple of times to me that this invisible discontinuity prevented me from turning. And I know when you enter an approach, you can load it or you can load and activate it. And I guess it's the activation part, but you can't activate it right away. You must wait with the activation. So it could be something having to do with that. But yeah, I will read the manual. I'm pretty sure at some point, just didn't have time, and I want to do it every time, and I forget to do it every time. And I sit in an aircraft like this, and I think, ah, shit, you still haven't figured it out. Eventually, I will, and then I'll let you know. Unless you can send me a comment explaining how you get the approach activated without messing around in your flight plan. So fuel quantity is half a tank, that's more than enough. Power lever is idle, it's the before engine stuff now. Fuel selector switch fullest. Yeah, so the fuel selector, and be very careful, same in the E1000, look at where the arrow points. So if you want to go from off to left, you have to have the arrow pointing right. And if you now want to go from left to right, make sure that your arrow points to the right. If for some reason, and in a shaky aircraft, this thing turns and you click on it, in mid-flight, your engine will be out because you cut the fuel. Then you have to try and quickly restart it again. Happened to me also in the E1000. So since then, I'm looking very, very carefully where that arrow points before I click on that thing. By the way, let's go back to daylight. So, yeah, just remember that can be a real bummer when your engine is out. So next is the beacon light. Beacon lights, by the way, the lights are here. This aircraft actually has a beacon, whereas the E1000 doesn't. So in the E1000 you have to turn on the strobes. And at night you would probably turn on the nav light first. On daylight you don't really need it. So warning panel, test button push. So where's that warning panel? Ah, that's this. There's a test button. Very nice. So system fuel pressure, check 0 psi, that's the case here. Now we're turning on the fuel pump. There is apparently only one fuel pump. The E1000 has actually two for right and left tank. Now we're checking that we are greater than 14 psi. Where is it? Fuel. Do I have to go to the system page for that? Yeah. Fuel psi is 30, so we're fine. And now we are ready for starting the engine. But the thing is, I'm going to get rid of the GPU, close the door. Okay, and now we are going to press the start button, and then we are watching, and for this I'm going to go over a little bit so that we have everything, that we can see everything. So we are looking at the, at what are we looking? Hang on, starter switch, N2. So we're looking at the, where's N2? N2, huh? Are you sure it's N2? Let me see. Starter switch on, N2, wait for greater than 12%. Oh, there it is. Oh, there, it's a small little line here. So this one, when 12, we activate the ignition, or the igniter as they call that here. Then we check for oil pressure rising, going into green. And power lever idle, yeah, obviously, why would I put the power lever into something else? Light up should be less than 10 seconds. Max ITT, which is here, shouldn't exceed 800. And check N1 and the N to be greater than 24. Wait for the ITT to kind of calm down. And then switch the igniter switch off again. So here we go. So when we are at 12, I turn on the igniter. Wait, ITT stabilized, yep. Igniter switch off. Maybe I did turn down the sounds a bit, but that might have been a tad too much. So let's go to the sound menu and put that on. Okay. Air conditioning switch. The air conditioner is usually on the right side. You put on the air conditioning and you have to kind of provide a little bit of stuff here. What's that here? Ground, fresh air, defrost. Okay. So the MD302, that is this thing. Click to turn on. Autopilot master switch. That's not the autopilot as such, but it's the autopilot system that we have to turn on so that we can use it. Turn it on. Trim master switch, that's the electric trim, so that we can use the electric trim. Pressurization, so the pressurized air, I guess, and the nav light. Now we're going to turn the nav light on, which is here. So why he puts the initial climb speed in the before taxi checklist is beyond me. That's what I said. Sometimes it's a bit weird. So our initial climb speed would be 150 knots. So we have to try and kind of get it there without overshooting it. So G1000 heading back. Yeah, we need to now set up the heading. I just realized that, yeah, no, they're down here. Oh, where are they? Instrument. Where are all these heading buttons and so on? Am I blind? FMS, range, instrument panel lights. Oh, up here. Yeah, they're up here. Okay, so, and only up here. Heading, it's already, no, it's a bit too much, so let's put it on 072. You know, this is already, I don't like that. It's in jumping in twos. Some aircraft have that, and I find this not okay. Let's see if my hardware does the same thing. No, my hardware is in single steps. That's interesting. So when you use these here, okay, altitude. We're going to climb to Lidl 140. And initially I would do a heading select. Okay, what's CSC and CPL? I'm not sure. These are buttons that the E1000 didn't have. Here you can actually modify the bank angle, because I find that some of these aircraft really overdo it. They always do it almost with a full bank angle, which can be difficult when flying, but also probably not very comfortable for the passengers. Now, where do I change the ident, transponder, DME? Insets, traffic and topo. I think we can turn the inset off. Yeah, we don't need that. We have a large display. So what I would like to see is in the PFD is the wind. No, we have no wind data yet. Okay. Well, let's turn it on anyway. And then the DME. Yeah, 109.5, bearing 1 and bearing 2. At the moment we have the Stuttgart ILS activated. It's the same frequency. Then the baro 2992 we have to set. What am I changing now? I'm a bit confused. Course, outer is baro. Aha. Okay. 12, it's actually 1260. So where do I switch? There is a way. Alt unit? Ah yeah, HPA. Here we go. 1013. Standard baro. Yeah, okay. That's good. And I think that should be enough for the moment here. So we have the flight plan. We have a running. We've done that. We're here. Transponder, dial and set standby. Flight plan we have entered. Flaps full up. Yep. Flight director is on. Autopilot is off and pre-configured. Yep. What does it need? It is off, isn't it? Off and pre-configured. Not sure what it was looking for. COM and nav radios are set. And we are ready for taxi. Okay, left, something is coming. Right, nothing is coming. Then, what about taxi light? Is there a taxi light? Yes, there's a taxi light here. Turn off the park brake. And let's quickly get going here. Okay, steering with the rudder is almost non-existent. That means you need to get yourself some form of steering wheel thingy. So I have an old X52 throttle that I use for that. Because the rudder is almost completely ineffective. So I'm fully in now, and that's all I get. I have to check if the fact that you have a steering tiller axis prevents the rudder from working, or if you really need to have some form of steering axis. I don't know. I actually can't tell you. So taxi light is on, parking brake is released, brakes test. Yeah, we've tested it. And now we're traveling to the holding point. Okay, I'll spare you all these in-between things because it's a quick look, so it shouldn't take as long as a normal try and fly. Right, now we have the holding point tests, pitot stall heat switch. Still have to get used to. Okay, so pitot stall heat switch on. I'm actually going to turn on the windshields as well. Then the EMS system switch on, and we do the starter gen switch, which is here, and we turn it off, and we turn it on again, and we check that Gen A produces something. Bus 1 and 2, they stay on greater 24 volts, and then we turn it on again. Okay, then the flaps pull down. That's for testing them. And up again. So somehow it didn't detect the flaps full down. Oh, they're quite slow. Just realize. Now they're full down. Now we take them up again. Pull up. Warning panel verify. Yep, there is no warning. Then we can do the before takeoff flight controls. Three and 0 transponder set alt. Elevator trim set takeoff, that's already done. Igniter switch on. Autopilot master switch check on. That's, where is that one? It's here, yes, it's on. Landing light on. Taxi light off. Strobe light on. Ice detect switch on. So there seems to be an ice detection here. Set takeoff, which is first position. Oxygen value open. Where was that? Oxygen. I thought that was, I think, over here. I think that was this one here. Was it? No. Hang on. I think I saw it here. Ground open. Headset. Plug jack. Yeah, that's actually a feature. If the noise is too loud, you can actually plug in a headset, and then you hear almost nothing from the aircraft, which is great for Watson flying. So then we do parking brake release, and we roll onto the runway. Okay, parking brake on. ATC clearance we have received. Yeah, okay, so takeoff. So basically we want to fly out with 150, but we rotate at 85. We put 90 to 96 and 1. The heading butt is aligned to the runway. That is actually the case. Fuel tank selector, switch fullest. So what you would do now is you would quickly check. No, the fullest is the right tank. Be careful. That's wrong. That's right. Okay, if I do it the other way around, the engine is out. I don't want to do that. So the time we note, parking brake, release. And now I'm bringing up N1 to about 90%. I stick on the brake. So that's about 90. Oh, yo. Oh, come on. Very difficult to steer. 90. I'll pull. Positive rate. Gear up. Speed is alive. Yeah, warning panel, no alarm. VR at 85 and takeoff. Okay. So I'm now activating, where's nav mode? Oh, that's hard to read here. Nav mode. Then I activate the, where's the autopilot? Autopilot, here, autopilot, yaw damper. And we are, we're actually currently descending. So let's get to some vertical speed. That makes sense. Like now, vertical speed 1500. Okay, I hope it will. So we have now vertical speed plus 1700. And we should be out at 150. We are a little bit too fast. Just taking away some power. Yeah, that was my first takeoff. This is, I haven't actually done a flight with it yet. So, and we stay in and around 150 knots. That's at the initial climb speed. Okay. So we've done all that. Next. So, we're now going to climb out with flaps takeoff. So, so VLE 220. Yeah, I suppose let's accelerate now a little bit. So landing gear is down, flaps above 120 are up. Yeah, we were a bit too fast for the flaps because things went too quick. Again, I might need less power. And I don't know, somehow the trim didn't really, I don't think it was correct. Igniter switch off, fuel auto select switch. Fuel auto select switch so that we switch between tanks. Is on now, landing light off. Okay, we will not wait for 10,000. So we're now climbing to flight level 140, somewhere between 180 and 220. I will try and get it to about 200. Power, stay in limits, adjust. Yeah, looking good. On our course here, everything is fine. This looks like it's down, but it's not actually. But yeah, it's the viewing angle. Flaps is up, so everything is as it should be. Speed has stabilized at about 190 now. Yeah, I suppose that's okay. I'm going to switch to light level change now, so that we keep 190, and it will then adjust accordingly. So we are now reaching our cruising altitude, flight level 140. See, we're still on 190, and as soon as we reach, I will try and get to about 210 or 220 knots, at least. But I kind of observe where the aircraft is heading with the speed. 1000 or actually 200. Comes quite late, the alarm. Now we're now so let's try see if we can reach 210. Okay, see if we can reach 220. The SF50, for example, from Laminar, it didn't get above 200 something. It stayed quite low, although we had N1 of 90, which was close to the limit. I think 220 is actually quite a good speed. So as soon as we reach 220, I will take back the power a little bit, and then try and keep there. So I hope that the automatic switching of the fuel tank works. We're now turning towards Magat. Now 220. I reduce a little bit, hoping that we get now stuck there roughly at 220. Just have to watch it from time to time. So you can also check the cruise. Air conditioning, all breakers are in. Next would be the descent checklist. Yeah, descent will be about 37 nautical miles before Magat. Okay, so we're getting close to the rough top of descent, which is usually around 37. So first of all, I'm going to select now the new altitude of 5,000 feet. I'm going to use level change and try and reach roughly a descent speed of 15 to 1600. Oh, what you doing? That's too much. Now we need to try and squeeze it into the right 1050, 1200. I make very small adjustments with the throttle. I mean, the other possibility is if you need the vertical speed, what you can do is that you use the vertical speed mode. You can then set the vertical speed mode you want, like 1500, but now you need to use the throttle to make sure that the speed stays. So it's one of the two. The level change mode can be a little bit fluctuant with the speed, the vertical speed. When you use vertical speed, you stay on your vertical speed, but you have to watch out for your airspeed. Okay, so we're getting closer now. On the PFD, we click on the team reference and then move to the move to here, on, and then put up 200 feet minimums. Enter, or yeah, thrust reference, then landing light on. It's already on. Fuel auto select switch off. Fuel selector switch fullest. So let's check. The fullest is actually the left tank. It hasn't switched. Oops. So arrow to the left. Flaps. Yeah, well, we're not there yet. Let's see how far we are. 12 miles, 6,000. Yeah. ILS. Yep. So that should be India Mike November Echo. Yes, it is. Here you can see it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use heading sync and then switch to heading mode. And then we switch the CDI to the localizer. The course 080 is correct. Leave that. And we are 9 miles from Magat. Wait a little bit with the approach mode. So we're almost at 5,000. Going to bring the speed then to under 190. And I'm arming the approach mode now. And we're reducing our speed. Parking brake is off. Air conditioning is needed, and yaw damper we turn off for the approach. Three miles to Magat. We will speed to 180 so that we can start bringing out the flaps. So localizer should start moving any moment. Here we go. Localizer is green, captured. Glide slope is coming down as well. And we start to descend on the glide slope. I'm taking back the power so that we start reducing speed, because I would like to bring out the flaps. First level of flaps. Okay, next is the landing. The landing light is on. Taxi light we're supposed to turn on as well, but only when we have actually the gear out, which we haven't done yet. Gear is beyond, yeah, okay. We need to be lower than 150 to bring out the last stage of flaps. We are now at 145. So the igniter switch needs to be turned on. Gear is out and flaps second stage. And we're going to land, go around speed 140, final speed full flaps 117. Not sure what the actual landing speed is. See if that shows somewhere. Let's go to the general data. See. Operating speed, stall speed, 85. Max flap extension. Doesn't really say, does it? Okay, I'm getting myself ready now. Turn off the autopilot and see how that bird flies when you're manual. We're now stabilized. So I'm turning off the autopilot and you immediately turn to the left. Need to counteract that. The rudder are centered, so I'm not sure why it's doing that. A little bit high. So, and yeah, it's pulling to the left a little bit. We don't have any reversers, so that means we're going to use the brakes. I use the parking brake because it's symmetric. And let's get off here. These airplanes don't have air brakes or something like that, so you need to carefully use the brakes and slow it down. Okay, parking brake on. Let's do the after landing. Flaps up. Okay, so clear runway, time node, headset unplugged, flight director off, transponder set standby. Then igniter switch off, fresh air switch off, landing lights off, strobes off, all ice switches off, oxygen value close, park brake release to go to our parking positions. Taxi lights is on. Yeah. Okay. So I will just park here at this position. VIP parking. Normally you wouldn't see an aircraft like this here. But this is my simulator, I decide where to park. Okay, park brake set, shutdown, taxi lights off, ATC leave frequency, power lever idle, flight plan, we don't delete it, autopilot master switch, off, trim master off, nav light off, beacon light off, air conditioning all off, red cut-off switch, open caps and push after 1 minute. The red cut-off switch, that must this be here. Open caps and push. Wait until one is smaller than 5%. Close the cap, yeah. Starter gen switch off. It's already off. Fuel pump switch off. Avionics master off. Fuel selector close. Yep. You also have to be careful how often you click. Sometimes accidentally there's 2 clicks. Cockpit carbon lights all dim. Where was that? The carbon lights are here. Are we getting a... Seriously? All switches off. And the knob to turn that off as well. And then we can open the door. Open this door, install the chocks. And I try to... Oh my god, we got scratches. Munich airport has scratched my aircraft. I need a lawyer. So this is the Aerobask Epic Victory, and I have to tell you that I'm not sure why, but I actually quite like that. Better than the E1000, the turboprop version. Not sure why that is, but it's I actually quite enjoyed that, and I definitely like it much better than the Laminar SF50, which is very basic. So this is a nice compromise between using standard. Oh my god, using standard stuff and. Can we get rid of it again? No. And doing custom things. I could imagine that this is also a nice very light jet. Or is it very... Yeah, I think it's very light jet. VLJ. To do sightseeing and kind of short to mid-range flights here in Europe, for example. Very nice aircraft. Okay, I hope that was interesting. And I would say until next time.